The economic damage caused by the pandemic is writ large in Britain's deserted city centres. Shuttered restaurants, boarded up shops. Not everything will emerge intact, and nor will the country's regions bounce back at the same pace.
Last year was a really challenging year for a lot of people, but what it really showed was any inequalities that we had in our regions, they've just widened and worsened during the pandemic. So, for example, in the north, child poverty levels are the highest. 1 in 3 northern children are in poverty right now. The unemployment, it's the highest levels that we've seen since 1994.
Chef and restaurant owner Mary Ellen McTague could only cling on as the pandemic ripped through the hospitality sector.
It's an industry where it's difficult to make money, it's difficult to stay afloat anyway. You know, so many hospitality businesses, even in a sort of healthy economic environment, struggle to keep going. So saying it's a blow isn't really doing it justice. It felt like the end, I think, for a lot of people. And I'm constantly surprised that we're still here.
She now prepares meals for a local food bank, helping those who've suffered far more than herself. Mary Ellen is fortunate to have weathered the COVID storm many businesses haven't survived. And here in the north of England, as elsewhere, attention begins to turn to recovery in a post-pandemic era. And whether the government keeps its promise of levelling up, bridging the divide between north and south after a decade of austerity and underinvestment.
We cannot continue the way that we're going right now. Inequalities will continue to widen. We have a lot of challenges in the north. Right now, failure is not an option.
But failure is reality for many of the economic victims of COVID-19.
Normally 12 families using our service, and at the moment about 34, 35 a week on average. People are in debt, but they've got rent arrears, people have got commitments that they've lost a job, so they can't keep to those commitments. Financial hardship's going to it is going to be on the increase, no doubt about it.
What the government does next, answering calls for ever greater financial help or hiking taxes to pay it all back, will determine how Britain rebuilds and whether, as Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised, it builds back better. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Manchester.